Gary Stothard here, weekly swing tip time. So what we're going to look at today, we're going to do some chipping from the edge of the green. Something that is just massively important. You know, when I'm giving lessons to a lot of my pupils on the range, I think they hit the ball so good, they're down around the edge of the greens, you know, 2-3 shots consistently, but then from this sort of area inwards, that's where it's costing them. And it's really understanding how to use the bounce of the club better. It's something that, you know, there's a lot of clips on YouTube, etc., about how to use bounce. It is difficult to understand how to use it properly, but somewhere I like to sort of think about it is I'm trying to hit the floor with the sole of the club there rather than the leading edge, because remember the bounce is on this part of the club here. Now if we tip it like that, the angle leaning from the leading edge there to the back, that's your angle of bounce. So if we're hitting the ground with a leading edge, you're not using bounce, you're actually just digging. And how many times have you felt this one where we dig and then you can see there the club actually snags into the ground. You see there, it just stops. And we actually want the club to bounce off the floor. And that's why a lot of us fear playing chip shots with a tighter lie, because if we're not using bounce properly, your club digs and will thin it and fat it. So to get a more consistent strike, we've got to learn how to use bounce properly. And one of the real key things to being able to use bounce is getting the correct loft on the club as we're moving back. So, and we've done a clip about this before. When we take the club back, we've got to really make sure that we're trying to keep the loft on it. If the club gets drawn back and then the club face is down to the ground like that, you've actually taken all the loft off it. So you've got a bit of an issue now, because as you're coming back down, you'd almost have to feel like you've got to steer it to open the face back up again, which, you know, some people might be able to do that, but it'd be difficult to do it consistently. I almost feel like the way to do it is to slightly open that face up in address. So in address position, just tip it slightly open. That's going to add more loft to it. Next little tip, I would weaken the grip. This is, you know, if you feel like you struggle to get the loft on it and get feeling what the bounce is, you know, tip the face open a little bit and weaken your grip. You know, weaken the left hand, weaken the right hand there. You know, it might feel strange, but straight away now I feel like when I'm coming back, the face is more up to the sky rather than closed. So for chipping, that is absolutely fantastic. We've got to keep the loft on the club, and then as we come through the shot, we need to almost feel like the club face is up to the sky, not closed down like that. We want the face up to the sky, and then that ball will get collected. So want to try and get that set up. You know, your ball position wants to be, you can either play it centre, front, back, whatever feels comfortable for you. I like to play it in the centre of my stance, tip a little bit of weight forwards, but I'm really trying to keep the loft on the face. So let's give one a go. So we'll just slightly open that face up, put the weight there, and then I'm going to try and feel like that face is opening up on the backswing. The strike felt really good, and you could see there, it just popped up nicely. No sign of me trying to help the ball. The bounce did all the work for me. If we're using bounce properly, the club then comes back to impact in that position there. It doesn't come back leaning forwards there or leaning back. We will come back nice and straight like this. So my setup position, you can see it's straight, and then when I come back to the hit, you can see it's back in that nice straight position, and then keep moving around. So we're going to keep the weight turning all the time. That's why we put a little bit of weight on this left hand side to help get the descending blow. We don't need to feel like the handle leaning forwards. We move the handle forwards, we're taking off bounce, and that's no good. So let's try one more. So again, first thing, I'm gonna open that face up in address. So I've fanned it open, then I'm gonna weaken the grip. Weaken the grip there, and then feel like we're gonna keep the loft on the face. There we go. Again, nice strike, and again it got collected up into the air. Now that's quite a lot of loft I'm using there. That's a 60-degree lob wedge, that. But if you're using bounce properly, it doesn't matter if it's a pitching wedge, a sand wedge or a lob wedge, it'll have the same effect. It'll want to bounce off the floor. Now the technical bit of this, if we're using bounce properly, you've got more leeway. When I say you've got more leeway, it acts as like a skip plate. So as it's coming in, it skips and it bounces. So that gives you more margin for error. That means you can hit the ball almost an inch before it. So if we come in an inch before it, it'll stay low and then it'll bounce and it'll collect the ball. If you're coming into the back of it, it's almost too tight to it, and then that's when you get that thin shot. So this way, using bounce, I want you to practice, and I want you to almost feel like you're going to strike an inch before it, and you'll be surprised how the ball then gets collected and your strikes will improve massively. So last one, so I'm going to open that face up, weaken the grip, and I'm going to feel like I'm going to hit an inch before the ball. Look at that, I hit an inch before it and it popped up absolutely beautiful because the bounce has been activated. Remember, it's like a skip plate. Open the face up, hit slightly before it, you hit the floor with that part of the club, not the leading edge, and it will then bounce, and then the ball then gets collected. Practice it, you know, get on the chipping areas and give it some practice before you take it onto the golf course, and I bet you'll get more consistency with your chipping. Just understanding basic fundamentals and how to use loft, how to use bounce. Okay, give that a try and we'll see you soon. Thank you.